Friends and brothers in faith, prepare yourselves to hear a story that will touch your soul deeply and perhaps, just perhaps, rekindle that flame of hope and mystery that we sometimes forget exists on our journey with God. There is a place, high up on a steep and difficult-to-access mountain, where devotion to Our Lady manifests itself in such a pure and intense way that it seems to suspend time. A sacred place for many, marked by the silent presence of a statue of the Blessed Mother, which holds countless prayers, tears and supplications carried by hearts thirsting for consolation and miracles. People of all ages and walks of life make the pilgrimage there, not out of obligation, but because of an inner calling that impels them to seek refuge and intercession at the feet of the Virgin Mary, especially through the unshakable power of the Holy Rosary, which echoes along the slopes like a collective hymn of faith. But what I am going to tell you today is not only about the beauty of devotion or the peace that can be found on that summit. It is about a particular day, a day like no other, when a group of devout believers, gathered for their usual prayer, witnessed something so unexpected, so subtle, but at the same time so powerful, that it forever changed the way they saw the presence of Our Lady in their lives. Something happened in that moment of prayer that was not in their plans, something that surpassed any expectation and revealed a facet of the divine response that many of us did not even dare to imagine. And if you are here now, feeling that you need a light, a sign, an intercession for yourself or for someone you love, I make you a direct and urgent invitation. Write right now in the comments the name of that person, relative, friend, co-worker, or even your own name who urgently needs prayer. Write it down there because at the end of this video, we will join all these names in our main prayer with the Rosary, trusting that the same Mother who answered those devotees on the mountain will also hear our prayer. This specific mountain was not just a rocky elevation. It was a natural sanctuary, sculpted over the years by popular devotion itself. The trails that led to the top were worn by the footsteps of countless pilgrims. Each stone on the path seemed to carry a fragment of an intention left there. At the summit, on a plateau that offered a breathtaking view of the valley below, stood the statue of Our Lady, simple but imposing, with her arms open in welcome, a beacon of hope visible from afar on clear days. The air at the top was different, purer, lighter, and many claimed to feel an unparalleled peace as soon as they got close to the statue, as if they were entering a sacred space, separated from the worries of the world. It was a place of encounter with the divine, where nature joined with faith to create an atmosphere conducive to deep prayer, meditation and total surrender, a refuge where weary souls found rest and lost hopes could be revived under the maternal gaze of the Virgin. Every weekend, groups formed to climb, each bringing with them their own burden, their own stories, but united by a common purpose: to seek the intercession of Our Lady through the communal recitation of the Holy Rosary, a tradition kept alive for generations. On this particular day, the group that gathered at the top of the mountain was diverse. There was Dona Elza, a grandmother who carried in her heart the anguish for her grandson's fragile health and fervently prayed for a cure. Next to her was João, an unemployed young man who was looking for hope and direction to find a new path in his professional life, praying for a door to open. There was also the Silva family, father, mother and 2 teenage children, who struggled with constant disagreements at home and cried out for peace and unity, a sincere request for love to reign again in their home, as a tangible example of how the difficulties of everyday life drive us to seek spiritual comfort. Each person present brought with them a story of struggle, hope, gratitude or regret, but all of them knelt before the statue with genuine faith, a surrender that went beyond words, seeking not only a favor, but the very presence and comfort of the Mother of God. They were there to pray the Rosary, meditating on the mysteries of the lives of Christ and Mary, intertwining their own lives and concerns with sacred history, trusting that by uniting in prayer, their voices, their intentions, and their hearts would more easily reach heaven through the intercession of the Virgin. As the sun began its slow descent toward the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and violet, the group knelt in a circle around the statue. The initial silence was broken by the firm voice of one of the older devotees, who recited the first Hail Mary, and soon other voices joined in a soft but powerful chorus. The sound of the rosary beads slipping between the fingers mingled with the sound of the wind blowing gently on the summit, creating a peculiar symphony of faith and nature. Each Our Father, each Hail Mary, each Glory Be was recited with devotion, personal intentions blended with general intentions for the Church, for the world, for peace. The rhythm of the prayer was measured, allowing each person to immerse themselves deeply in meditation on the mysteries, reflecting on the Annunciation, the Visitation, the birth, the presentation, the loss and finding of the child Jesus in the temple, the joyful mysteries that recall the joy and humility of the Holy Family. The communion in prayer created an invisible bond between them, a collective force that seemed to amplify the power of each individual prayer, raising it to a higher spiritual level, a veritable army of prayer at the feet of the Mother. As they progressed through the mysteries, moving on to the sorrowful ones, the agony in the garden, the flagellation, the crowning with thorns, the road to Calvary, the crucifixion and death of Jesus, the air at the summit seemed to grow denser, not in a heavy way, but in a depth that invited even greater introspection. The difficulties of the devotees' lives, illness, unemployment, family conflicts, seemed to find an echo in Christ's sufferings, and meditation on the Passion added a layer of sacrifice and surrender to their own supplications. Their voices, previously more uniform, now revealed their suppressed emotion, some whispers choked with pain, others with renewed hope in redemption. They were not just reciting words. They were living, feeling, offering their own crosses, however small, next to the cross of Christ, through the intercession of Mary. Their focus was intense, their eyes fixed on the statue or simply closed in deep concentration, each one in their own inner dialogue with God and the Virgin, in this crucial moment of surrender and total trust in divine providence and in the power of community prayer, which there became palpable. It was then, as they prepared to begin the fourth sorrowful mystery, the elevation of the cross, that something completely unexpected happened. It was not a loud noise, it was not a drastic change in the weather, nor even a figure that suddenly appeared. It was the opposite. An absolute and profound stillness descended upon the summit. The wind, which had previously seemed gentle, ceased completely. The distant sounds of the valley disappeared. The air, which had previously seemed only light, now became palpable, charged with a soft and enveloping energy. It was not an empty silence, but a silence filled with a peace so intense and overwhelming that many felt tears welling up in their eyes without understanding why. It was a peace that did not come from the absence of noise, but from an undeniable presence, a feeling that the sky had leaned down over them in that instant. And then, subtly, the light of the setting sun, which was already declining, seemed to concentrate and intensify around the statue of Our Lady, not in a bright or blinding way, but with a soft, golden and warm glow, as if the statue itself were enveloped in an aura of pure light, a light that seemed to emanate peace and unconditional love, unlike any natural light they had ever seen, confirming in a quiet but powerful way that something extraordinary and sacred was happening at that very moment. In the silence of the mountain, no one spoke. No one moved for a few moments that seemed like an eternity. They just felt. They felt the deep peace that penetrated their bones, that calmed their anxieties, that washed away their worries. They felt the presence of the Mother, or perhaps of something greater, in a way that words could not describe. Some, in silent ecstasy, bowed their heads even more, Some wept softly, but not from sadness, but from pure emotion and gratitude. Others simply gazed at the soft light surrounding the statue, feeling that they were witnessing something sacred, a glimpse of the divine in its purest, most serene form. There were no grand visions or audible messages, but a communication that took place on the level of the spirit, a deep, silent understanding that their prayers had not only been heard but had been answered in a special way. That moment of stillness and light was not a direct answer to a specific request, the healing of their grandson, a job, family peace, but it was in itself the greater answer. The assurance of Mary's loving presence and that they were not alone in their struggles, a balm for the soul that was worth more than 1,000 words or loud signs. As the subtle light faded and the sounds of the wind and the valley gradually returned, the group finished the rosary, their voices now even more steady, but their hearts overflowing with indescribable peace and gratitude. They descended the mountain in silence, each processing in their own way what had happened. They did not tell the story to everyone, for they felt it was something personal, something intimate between them and heaven that day. But the experience transformed them. Dona Elsa continued to pray for her grandson, but with a serenity she had never known before, feeling that her prayer was in the right hands. João, although still without a job, felt a renewed inner strength and an unshakable confidence that God had a plan for him, approaching the search with new energy and faith. The Silva family began to deal with their disagreements with more patience and love, remembering the peace they had felt together on the summit and wanting to bring it into their home, for they had come to understand that true peace comes from within and from the divine presence in the home. The event did not magically solve all material problems, but it strengthened faith, brought peace to hearts, and gave each person the silent assurance of Mary's presence and the power of prayer, even when the answer does not come in the form or time we expect, but in subtle and profound ways that nourish the soul. This story on the mountain, as special as it may seem, contains a profound truth for our daily lives. We often look for grandiose signs, for storms to calm, for thunderous miracles that change everything overnight. But, like those devotees, the greatest answer can come in stillness, in the peace that floods the heart, in the silent assurance of the divine presence that enables us to face our daily struggles. Life with its challenges, illness, unemployment, family conflicts, the search for purpose, the need for forgiveness, demands from us a persevering faith, not only in extraordinary moments but in our daily lives. Prayer, especially the Holy Rosary, is not just a ritual. It is a path to peace in our hearts, a way to ask for more conversions, to cultivate the ability to forgive those who have hurt us, to keep hope alive in the midst of adversity, to have more faith and trust in divine providence. It is a daily invitation to place our lives in the hands of Mary, trusting that she intercedes for us, even when the answer comes in unexpected ways, like the stillness and light on the mountain. And that is why I reinforce my request. If you have not yet written, write right now in the comments the name of someone who needs prayer. Let us unite our voices and intentions, presenting these names to the Blessed Mother in our main prayer with the Rosary, just as those devotees united their prayers on top of that mountain, trusting that she will watch over each one with her maternal love. This story reminds us that faith is a journey of trust, where the extraordinary is often revealed in the simplicity and depth of silence. The story of those devotees on the mountain inspires us to persist in prayer, to seek the presence of Our Lady at all times, trusting that she leads us to Jesus. What was the point of this story that touched you the most? Have you ever had a similar experience where you felt the divine presence unexpectedly? Leave your comment below. Share your reflection on the topic, your faith and your experiences, so that we can build a community of prayer and sharing together. Your participation is very important. If this story inspired you and brought a little hope to your heart, please like this video. This helps us to bring this message of faith to more people. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and activate the bell so you don't miss our next videos about faith, hope, and the wonders that God performs through the intercession of Our Lady. May the peace and blessing of Mary be with you and your family. Amen.